Well, hello, friends. Father Frank Pavone here, National Director of Priests for Life, speaking to you from our Priests for Life national headquarters in New York City. Well, I wanted to let you know today about a special webpage that we have put up on our Priests for Life site. It is priestsforlife.org/constructive criticism. That's priestsforlife.org/constructive criticism. This page is actually a column that I wrote years ago. In fact, I have it here. I wrote it back in 2010, summarizing ideas that I had been putting together for some years to advise people about how to criticize. Because obviously, our life has to involve both giving and taking criticism, but it needs to be constructive criticism. There is a role, there is a place, there is a need for criticism, because none of us anywhere is perfect. And out of authentic concern for one another, and we know it's one of the ways that we exercise charity, actually, is we give fraternal correction. We help to guide people this way and that way. But what are the norms? What are the rules? What are the do's and don'ts of how we bring forth that criticism, whether to a subordinate, to a peer, or even to a superior? Criticism is part of the game of life. And so let's look at some of these things. You'll find this at priestsforlife.org/constructive criticism. And I just want to give you a teaser in today's message. I'm not going to go into great detail or many examples on these points. We can develop that in further messages, but I just want to whet your appetite for these things. First of all, constructive criticism, to be constructive, it needs to be informed. You might look at something somebody does or doesn't do and say, oh, that's wrong. I have to correct that person about it. But you don't know why they did it or didn't do it. So really, the right attitude to go into when you have to correct or criticize somebody is to start not by telling them something, but by asking them something. Is there a reason why you did what you did? Is there a reason why you didn't do what you didn't do? Is there a reason why the situation is set up this way? You have to presume that you don't have all the facts, or that the facts that you think you have might be open to correction. So constructive criticism, first of all, needs to be informed. Secondly, it needs to be loyal. In other words, when you're going to go criticize a person, the first thing you have to ask is, am I going as friend or foe? Am I loyal to this person? Am I criticizing them because I want to help them accomplish their duty, their role, their mission? Or because I want to lord it over them and I'm proud and arrogant and I want to show how I can correct the other person, or maybe show off for somebody else. Criticism needs to be loyal. It doesn't seek to harm the person that's being criticized or their work or their mission. Rather, it conveys that you want to be side by side with them and help them just as you would humbly accept their help if you need to be criticized. It's always communicated with the utmost respect. The third point in my 8 points about constructive criticism, and again, you can find these at priestsforlife.org/constructive criticism, is that constructive criticism is descriptive. In other words, instead of just saying to somebody, oh, you're sloppy, don't just use an adjective like that. Use an actual description of the behavior that you're criticizing. For example, if you, instead of saying, oh, you're sloppy, say, listen, when you write this letter, these paragraphs should be aligned. Right now, they're all out of place. That would be an example of using descriptive rather than evaluative behavior. Or if it's in a spousal relationship, for example, oh, you're insensitive. Well, instead of just, oh, what does that mean? How's a person supposed to know what that means? But if you say, well, I was hurt because here I am working all day to get this meal ready, and you came in and you just said, when is it going to be ready? Instead of saying, how are you doing? How's it coming along? Thank you for working so hard. In other words, if you're offended by the behavior, describe what the behavior is. Don't just slap an adjective onto it and leave the person wondering what in the world you mean. Otherwise, how are you to be expected to improve? Fourth, constructive criticism is targeted. It is spoken only to those that need to hear it and not beyond that. It's not meant for public consumption by other people that have nothing to do with it, or who in fact might be the enemies and use it against the person who's being criticize. If you're criticizing a situation, go to the people who need to hear it, or the people who are in a position to correct it, not far and wide to everybody else and his brother. Fifth, constructive criticism is, well, it's constructive. In other words, you're not just pointing out what's wrong. Give a suggestion about how to make it better, because then you show, again, your goodwill. You see, constructive criticism is based on and flows from goodwill, not bad will, not the desire to tear down, the desire to build up, hence constructive. Sixth, it's disciplined. It doesn't simply vent emotion. It doesn't exaggerate. It doesn't engage in attacks or vengeance or ridicule. The person who has a legitimate criticism expresses it in a controlled, respectful way and waits for the proper time and place to vent that or to express that criticism. It is spoken out of self-control, not simply out of a need to get it off your chest. Seventh, constructive criticism is charitable. Now, charitable doesn't just mean, well, you do it in a nice way with a smile, pat on the back. Charitable means this. It starts in our thoughts. That you give, when you see the behavior or lack of behavior that you're criticizing, you start off with charity in your mind. In other words, you give the best possible interpretation to the facts and evidence that you see before you. What's the best possible interpretation of why this person did what he or she did or failed to do what he or she failed to do? Because there can be various different interpretations, obviously, for a behavior. And if you don't know, you don't know. And the charitable thing to do is to presume the best and then work backwards from there, eliminating all the possible explanations. When this criticism is offered in a charitable way, it is quick to praise the good. That's so important. Nobody who deserves criticism is let me put it this way. Anybody that you're going to criticize for anything, there's always going to be something good that you can say to them, about them, or for them. There's always going to be something good. Find what that good is and express it, because then again, you come across as friend rather than foe. Praise the good that the person is doing before you then point out the thing you're criticizing. Praise the thing that they should continue doing before you point out the thing that they should stop doing. Let them know that you are on their side before you make them feel like you're against them. Constructive criticism is charitable, starting with charity in thought, the best interpretation, and starting with affirming the good rather than just pointing out the bad. And finally, the eighth point in my characteristics of constructive criticism is that it is mission-driven. We do not criticize somebody else out of some kind of selfish motive to appear superior, win a point, tear down the other person, grab their supporters away from them. These are all ill will, bad motives. The good motive that it should be is that we believe in and affirm and support the mission of the person we're criticizing, and we want to be allies in that. And that's why we're giving the constructive criticism, to help them to do it better. You don't just say, hey, well, I agree with what you're doing, but... No, you make it more real than that. You make it your actual motive for bringing about the criticism. Well, these then are 8 points, and you'll find them at priestforlife.org/constructive criticism. And let me, again, just summarize them quickly. Constructive criticism is informed, it's loyal, it's descriptive, it's targeted, it's constructive, it's disciplined, it's charitable, and it's mission-driven. We'll talk more about these things in more detail, and if you want to send me your thoughts about this, go to the webpage and read through it first, and then let me know some examples that you might have and be able to add to this, and we'll have a little dialogue about it. Thanks, friends. Let's keep in touch. I'll be back tomorrow with more here on Facebook Live, and I always enjoy hearing from you, getting your support, lifting you up in prayer every day, and working with you together on this great mission that we have at Priests for Life to end abortion and to restore protection to the weakest and most vulnerable among us, the children yet in the womb. God bless you.